right, it's getting close to soup season. I mean, next week there's going to be temperatures where we may not even hit 60 in Evansville next week, though. That's kind of a weather for me where you warm yourself up here with a little bit of soup. We're going to do a Reuben soup today. Yes, like the sandwich of Reuben, we're going to make this a creamy Reuben soup. So to start things, I've already had to begin working on it because it does take a while. This is a process now, so we'll get it done quickly, but keep in mind, you got a lot of prep work to do. Inside my stock pot right now is just diced up carrots and onions, and I sauteed it in butter. That's going to be about a 10-minute process right there just to get those kind of softened on up. Once those are softened up, that's when you're going to add your broth to this, which on this one, usually if you watch when I use broths, I generally do chicken broth. Well, you can see as I'm pouring in right there on the camera, we're going to do a beef broth with this one. So I'm going to give it a quick little squeeze here just to make it come out a little bit quicker. So there we go. So there is your base. That is going to be a beef broth. I'm not really worried about adding any salt into this. There will be a little bit here, but I'm not worried about adding any salt extra there from your salt shaker. So what you're going to do is once that's all sauteed, add your broth in there. Let's go ahead and start adding in our spices as well as our kraut, because Reuben has sauerkraut with it. And also I went to the deli there and got some fresh pastrami. So, no, not even pastrami, corned beef hash. Now you can get pastrami if you want to, but of course the recipe usually itself is for corned beef hash there. So we'll go ahead, there we go. How to get a new gas tank in there. So let's start adding in our ingredients. Let's just go ahead and add the pastrami in there, excuse me, the corned beef hash in there. And it comes in big slices there from your deli. You're gonna wanna chop that up here, as you see there in my ladle, into some small little square chunks. When it comes to your sauerkraut, you're gonna wanna let that really dry out. And the best way you can do that is if you have a tea towel, just put the kraut out of the jar or the can onto a tea towel, or take some cheesecloth, put it in there, let it absorb, wring it out over the sink, and that really makes your kraut there fairly dry, which again, you kind of want that because you don't want too much of that vinegar-based flavor, but you want that nice flavor of the kraut in there. So now, just continue to stir, make sure everything's getting warmed up nice and evenly. A lot of different kind of spices in this, so here's what we're going to go with. We're going to go with garlic powder. We'll go ahead and dump in some garlic powder. Yes, I have pickling spice. We're going to throw some of that in there. Now your pickling spice, if you don't have any, it's got coriander seed, mustard seeds are in there, got some dill mixed in with it as well. There's some bay leaves, cardamom, red chili flakes, and some allspices in there. So yeah, there's a lot there in your pickling spices, but we don't need a whole lot of it. I like to throw in a little bit of tarragon with this. Tarragon's gonna give you kind of that little anise flavor. I hate to call it licorice, but that's kind of sort of what it is. White pepper, I think, will give a good offset to this versus just regular everyday black pepper. And sage. Be careful with sage. It actually is quite of a powerful spice, if you will, so don't overdo it. So again, everything's poured in there for the most part. When it comes to our spices, we'll stir. So again, that those flavors start to get pulled out from the heat of the beef broth that is in there. Now what we're gonna do is, I mentioned I'm not gonna add any extra salt to this. Now keep in mind, you've got the broth that has the salt, you've got the beef that has the salt, and other things as well. So what I'm gonna do, just to give it a little bit of that umami, but also a little bit of that flavor, is a little bit there of some Worcestershire sauce, and I like going for the good Worcestershire. I mean, I know the store brands. I buy them. You see them sitting right there, right? But when it comes to my Worcestershire, I really do enjoy the Lee & Perrins. Don't need much. If you want more flavor of that, add it in later. This is going to be something you'll kind of make and then taste it and say, needs more pepper, needs more salt, or something of that nature to it. So there we go, got it going right now. Now we're gonna put in our cream. This is gonna be what makes it the creamy Reuben soup. And you're gonna throw in there your heavy cream. I would say put in maybe about a cup of heavy cream. And we want a little bit of sweetness with this. So for that sweetness, if you ever had a Reuben, it has a dressing on it, which is for the most part, usually just as you see here, Thousand Island dressing. Not gonna put a lot in there, but keep in mind, this is gonna be a cream. This is a heavy dish now. We got the cream in there, very savory, if you will. So kind of a little bit of sweetness in there. And I mean just a little bit of some Thousand Island dressing. I checked with Ron. He's okay with that. Even though it's got mayonnaise to it, Ron says he's fine with it. Then what you're going to do is really get this up to a nice warm temperature. You can thicken it. One way you can thicken it, and this will work, is that you're going to add some cheese in there. This is a whole block of Swiss cheese. We're not going to put the whole thing in there. I want to save a little bit for presentation, but we are going to put a good chunk of the cheese in there because with a Reuben, it does come with Swiss cheese, right? Sauerkraut, corned beef, Swiss cheese. So we're going to mix that in there now. And that's, of course, that's just going to melt, but that'll kind of help thicken things up just a little bit. So before I add in my cornstarch to help that thicken this up even more, I'm going to let this get up to a warm temperature. Then with the Reuben, usually a rye bread, right? Sometimes a restaurant might get fancy, which I prefer it, is a rye, marbled rye, which is a pumpernickel with the rye, which is what I have here. I do have the rye bread, but look at this. I made homemade croutons out of the rye bread so that when you pour your soup into the bowl, you take a couple of those croutons there and put them onto the top. And then I'm going to put a little bit of parsley, fresh parsley there from Angie Humphrey's garden this morning. We'll take a little bit of fresh parsley, sprinkle that on top as well for presentation purposes. So I'm going to wrap up this dish right here, get it in for a bowl for Ron so he can try it out here in just a couple of minutes.